Now, this morning, there's growing anger in Russia over a Ukrainian attack that killed dozens of Russian soldiers in an occupied city in eastern Ukraine on New Year's Eve. Russia's defense ministry says 63 of its troops were killed in what could be the deadliest attack on Russian forces in months. NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Kyiv with more on this. Matt, so the Russians are now acknowledging this attack. What's their assessment of what happened, and what's the reaction been like in Russia?
Not only acknowledging it, but they're actually admitting to some mistakes, which is very rare from the Russian side. They said that it's possible that the position of all of these Russian troops, and there could be hundreds of them who had been there, that was tipped off by the fact that a lot of them were using their personal cell phones to make calls, maybe back home, because it was New Year's, of course, which is a big holiday, both in Russia and in Ukraine. That's just a rookie mistake, and the kind of thing that generals and people on hand should have said not to do. There were other rumors that it's possible that there were locals who tipped off the Ukrainians to this position. Either way, there are people in Moscow, people in the Donbass region who are pro-Russian, people online who are just yelling for blood. They want to see this incident investigated, and they want to see the officers who were responsible charged.
How does this contrast with Ukraine's account of events? What are officials saying where you are in Kyiv?
Well, the Ukrainians put the number earlier in the day yesterday much, much, much higher. They said as many as 400 could have been killed. Now, of course, this is a major victory for Ukraine, no matter how you slice it. So for Ukrainians, they see this as the effectiveness of some of these weapons, the HIMARS system that was provided by the U.S., in using these surface-to-surface missiles in attacking the Russians. And, you know, one of the things that stands out here, and one of the things that the Ukrainians have been mentioning, these are newly mobilized troops. So Vladimir Putin, who has been engaging in round after round of mobilization, trying to get new men to fill his depleting ranks of soldiers, this just goes to show that they are squandering those new soldiers on the front lines.
And Matt, this attack comes amid this continued Russian drone and missile strikes targeting infrastructure in Ukraine. I know you've been speaking with the Ukrainian Air Force official about all of that. What did he have to say?
Yeah, and this is just another case of where U.S. and Western weapons have been devastatingly effective in not only attacking the Russians, as we saw with this incident on New Year's Day, but also in defending the Ukrainians and defending Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, which we see all around the city, against Russian attacks. And in the earlier case, the one in the eastern part of the country, it was the HIMARS system. Here, it's NASAMS systems and Gepard systems provided by the Germans. And, you know, the question now, considering how this has been a sustained attack, this is now the fifth or sixth day in a row where we've seen attacks on civilian infrastructure far from the front lines. Can the Russians sustain this? And I asked this to the spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force, and here's what he told me.
On the drones, it depends on how many Iran would be able to supply to Russia and how strong Western sanctions would be in reducing that supply. On the missiles, we see from military intelligence data that now Russians are using their untouched spares and that they are also running out of ballistic missiles. We've seen recently they are now firing and striking Ukraine with quite fresh missiles that were produced in September and in the summer.
Well, we just heard from President Volodymyr Zelensky last night saying that Ukrainians can expect another prolonged attack by these Iranian-made drones. So hard to know. Joe, Savannah?
Matt Bradley, stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.